Thanks, Malcolm, and thanks very much for inviting me along here today to talk to you guys. I think I always like the opportunity to tell people about what we're doing, and also to try and change perceptions about what the space industry is actually like and about, and what it is like these days. I mean, the title of my seminar today is about this decade being the decade of the space entrepreneur. And the reason I wanted to kind of talk about this in the context of Clyde Space, because I'm an engineer, but I'm also an entrepreneur because I started a company in the space industry, and I'm growing this company in the space industry, which is fairly unusual for Scotland, but it's also fairly unusual across the world. Not many people do this, and usually people do this kind of thing are pretty crazy actually. But that's changing, and we now have an opportunity for people to really kind of make the most of the business opportunities that are available in the space industry. And that's really important, because without business there's no jobs for engineers. So it's very important from our point of view as engineers to make sure that we can make money from doing what we do. So basically I'm going to start talking about, when you think about space, you kind of think about boffins, guys in clean rooms with white jackets on and doing different things with hardware and science instruments and all that kind of stuff, but maybe that's not what it's about. And where are these opportunities for business people or potential business people to start up their own companies and do different things in the space industry? And also, the space industry is a global market, and can the UK really achieve its potential? Are we able to do that? Do we have the right mentality? And then I thought I'd talk a bit about what my journey has been and kind of the decision process for me. So if you thought space was all about boffins, well, who can tell me the name? If you think about space, who's the most prominent figure in the space industry at the moment? Can anyone give me a name? The most famous person in the space industry at the moment? The NASA, head of NASA, right? Okay. Any others?
Branson.
Yep, Richard Branson. He's a businessman. He's not an engineer. Any other takers? Malcolm?
I think the guy from SpaceX.
Yeah, Elon Musk. These guys, they're not engineers. Well, Elon Musk actually is a software engineer, I think, to start off with. But these guys are business people. They're not, they're not engineers, they're not scientists. We don't know them because they've invented something amazing. They've basically stuck their neck out, tried to do something and achieve something through business, through raising finance, and through developing something that they can sell, basically. And you look at these guys and you think, those guys are pretty cool. But they've got loads of money. And I asked a question to a group I was talking to about a year ago. I asked them, why is Google cool? Why did people think, why is Yahoo not cool? But I mean, maybe that's a different question, but why is Google so cool? Why do we think Google's cool? Does anyone know? You ever thought about it? It's because they're super loaded, they're super successful, they've made loads and loads of money, and they've managed to do that without you thinking, right, Google are great because the guys that own it are now absolutely well minted, basically. It's because they ooze success, and people want to be associated with that. And that's what we need to do in the space industry. We need to use success if we can get people attracted to it. It's not about doing interest in science, which is also important, don't get me wrong. Interest in science is important, but in order for the kids that are thinking about what they want to do, it needs to be about being cool, and to be cool, you need to make tons of cash, effectively. So, what is, I think this slide is in the wrong place, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. There's actually something happening in the UK which is called the Space Innovation Growth Strategy, and this is very important for us in the UK because it's actually providing an opportunity for anyone within the UK, maybe even outside the UK, to come to the UK and to start something that they think is a great idea. And if they can prove to the government that their idea is worthwhile backing, then you can get a lot of money from the government to fund your idea. And basically what the idea is that, at the moment we've got 6% market share of the world global space market, and that kind of equals about, I think it's about 6 billion 5.9 billion in turnover in the UK per year from space. So that means making satellites, developing bits of satellites, and actually using satellites and selling data from satellites. So like Sky broadcasting and Inmarsat telephones, all that type of thing, that's all included in there. But what the plan is to take that 6 billion and over the next 20 years, grow that to 40 billion and also another 100,000 jobs, which is quite ambitious. And if we could, one of the things I get slated for by a couple of other folk in the space industry in Scotland, which, quite rightly, it's quite ambitious, but I thought, if the UK is going to do 40 billion pounds, why not 5 billion of that be in Scotland? Because we are, 15% the population, something like that. We should have 15% of that pie. So we should aim for that. And why not have 10,000 jobs in space? We should be aiming for something like that because you need to set your sights high. At the moment, I guess we're probably turnover for space in Scotland's probably less than 100 million, I'd say, something like that. So we've got a long way to go, but that doesn't mean we can't achieve it. So they're looking at different growth areas for this. So they've identified where they think these growths are going to be. It's going to be broadband from satellite, it's going to be TV broadcast, Earth observation, location-based services like your GPS, but kind of global navigation systems, and low-cost entry to space. And that doesn't mean just, it means launch vehicles. I would say just launch vehicles. Launch vehicles are important and there's a lot of activity in that, but also satellites that can take things into space. So if you've got a payload you need to fly, a satellite that enables you to do that in a low-cost way. And also importantly, space, from the UK point of view, and this is why it's ticking the right boxes with the government, because let's face it, cash is tight at the moment for the government, and they're going on about the comprehensive spending review quite a lot, and that's coming up, and it will affect everyone. But the nice thing about space is, space has been growing 9% per annum for the last 10 years. There's not many industries that can say that. So even though we're high tech, and people think, that's just science and fluffy stuff, actually, they're doing good business out of it. So it ticks all the right boxes for that. It ticks all the right boxes for export, because space is an export business. Most of the activities in the UK we export. For instance, Inmarsat are based in London, but they sell their telecom system all over the world. So they generate lots of income for the UK. So it's really good business for the government to try and kind of invest in for the future. So that puts us in a great position. Despite the spending review, we should still get quite a large chunk of funding from the government. So this is the slide that I was meant to do a wee second ago. But so what is the definition of cool? So we talked about this, but it's not science missions. It's not the shuttle. It used to be the shuttle. The shuttle used to be cool. Still is pretty cool. I still would love to see a shuttle launch, but it's been done. More cool than that is Virgin Galactic, I would say. It's a thing that's happening just now. Astronauts. I've met a few astronauts, and they are quite cool. But there's a lot of astronauts, and I think the astronauts know they're quite cool, so it kind of decools them a bit. I don't know why, but when you know you're cool, you're not meant to know you're cool. But it's definitely a commercial success that's going to be cool, and it's going to be the cool guys that make the money from space in the future, I think. And guys that maybe make a lot of money, then go into space a lot, maybe they'll be cool as well. But we've got a different definition of cool these days, and we need to make sure the space industry follows that.